Alright, so how to photograph things that other photographers will miss. This is actually one of the easiest and challenging things at the same time that photographers always have to deal with, especially if they want to improve their photography. And exactly because of this little twist here, there's no basic answer for this, but there are a couple of things that you can do to answer this question for yourself. So that's why I want to share a couple of tips and tricks with you to make it as easy as possible for you to get started. So let's talk about that. And the first thing that we need to talk about is your own point of view. So yeah, what kind of things you see when you're out there to take some pictures. And let's say you are a nature photographer and you want to take some photos in the forest. In most cases you simply walk around and you try to find some interesting things, like a good looking tree or a path that might be great for a leading line as an example. But yeah, exactly that is the most common thing that you can do. If you ask any nature photographer how many pictures he or she took using a path as a leading line, you will mostly hear that they all did that. And that's why it's really important to stop using the most common ideas, or better, to not use them that often. But what should you do instead? Well, instead try to find details that are around you all the time. So as an example, most people don't really think about this one leaf that is on the ground, or maybe in the winter there's this icy touch on a couple of things. If you actually start to look for these kind of details, you will take a lot of photos that no one else will take, because these kind of things just happened in this moment. So in the end, a couple of hours later, this leaf might be gone, but the path is still there. And that is a huge difference here. If you want to stand out, you need to change your point of view, and you should avoid typical photography ideas that most photographers would use in these situations. Because yeah, everyone would take these kind of pictures of that path. And exactly that's why I always recommend to check out all kind of things that are around you to take different pictures. And of course we need to talk about one of the most important things that you can do to take photos that most photographers will miss. And this tip is all about go the extra mile. But what does it actually mean? Well, it actually goes hand in hand with the first tip, so do something that most photographers won't do. And again, let's use nature photography as an example. Whenever I'm out there, I really like to take some nice close-ups of some flowers. But in most cases, every photographer really likes to use angles and positions that are in their comfort zone. And this comfort zone is something that makes it as easy as possible for us to take these kind of photos. And yeah, exactly that is the most common problem here, because it leads to repetitive results. What I did to take different photos is to get out of my comfort zone, and I started to use angles that are low on the ground, for example. That actually made it possible that a tiny flower started to look huge and completely different just because I simply changed my own position. And yeah, in the end, that is something that you can use for other photography genres as well. Street photography is another great example in this case. Because yeah, most street photographers simply take photos handheld while they walk around in the city. And I did that too. So what you can do instead, for example, is to set your focus on angles that are low on the ground as well. In the end, this can actually change the whole look of your photos, and most people won't really do that because it takes more effort, time and energy to take these kind of photos. And exactly that's why I think that going the extra mile is absolutely worth it if you want to set your focus on photos that most photographers will miss. So definitely always get out of your comfort zone to take different pictures. And that's a perfect opportunity to talk about light as well. Especially light is one of the best options that you can use to improve your own results. So for example, if you're out there in the nature, always try to check the overall lighting situation. Maybe move around your key element to see how the composition changes as soon as the light hits it from a different side, or maybe add some more lights to it. And no, you don't have to buy additional lights, you can easily use your smartphone as a light source as well. Just use the flash or simply open up a color on full screen and increase the brightness of your screen to use it as another light source for your photos. So just be a little bit creative and use light to get better results. But now let's move on to another tip that I want to share with you guys, and this one is all about having fun. One of my biggest mistakes that I did as I started to take photos was to set my focus on just planning my shots. But in the end, while taking photos, I had to change things up to get the results that I needed. So I simply wasted a lot of time planning all kind of unnecessary things, and exactly that's why I always recommend to just do some basic planning and to get the rest done while taking photos. So yeah, just stop thinking, just get out there and take photos. And especially if you have a favorite photography genre, it is most likely that you try to find the easiest and quickest way to get the results that you needed. But that leads to the problem that you simply repeat the same steps over and over again. And exactly that's why I highly recommend to always try new things as soon as you start to copy and paste your own work. So yeah, maybe try a new lens or different camera settings, or just completely ignore your best practices and try to find a new and fresh perspective. Especially these steps will improve your overall work as a photographer, because if you just copy and paste your own work, it won't help you to learn new things. But basically, yeah, in the end, you will get a couple of good results if you don't rush your photography sessions and if you just be a little bit creative. But yeah, these are a couple of tips and tricks that you can use to take photos other photographers will miss. Question of the day: what is your favorite photography tip? Write it down in the comments. So, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to stay updated for our upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next video.